Judge, in your opinion, what are some of the biggest threats that the judiciary is facing right now?
There are a number of threats that the judiciary is currently facing. One is an erosion of confidence in the courts. Uh, the work of the court in many instances is distorted. There is misinformation. There is a lack of understanding. We have not done the role that we should in educating the public about the courts and about the law. Many schools no longer have civic education. And so people are getting their information about the courts from TV and from other places. We also have a situation with misinformation coming from some of the highest levels. And in many instances where there is the loudest voice, that is the one that people hear and they trust the message coming out of there. When that message is incorrect, it results in erosion. There's also issues of judicial security. Judges are under threats at all levels, the federal courts, the state courts, even municipal courts. Individuals oftentimes believe that the courts are not responsive to them, that they do not hear them. They believe that courts are partisan, that in the federal system, they believe that the political party of the appointing judge dictates the outcome of their case. Sometimes they believe that judges are indifferent. Many groups who are marginalized believe that the law disproportionately burdens them without burdening their counterparts who may be more resourced. So those things pose real problems for the judiciary, and I think we have to address that on an ongoing basis because our republic really depends on strong courts that are viewed as legitimate, that are viewed as inclusive, that are viewed as courts that will hear all comers and decide those issues based on the facts and law.
What role or obligation do you think the legal community at large has to speak up on behalf of our judiciary and for the rule of law in this moment?
We are all gatekeepers, stakeholders in the court system, in the legal system. I believe that judges have an obligation to help educate the public about the law. You know, we have an obligation to engage in efforts to promote and educate about the fair administration of justice. Lawyers have an obligation, an ethical obligation, to support the courts and to provide balanced information about the courts and to uphold the traditions of our institutions. And I think the public has an obligation that cannot be ignored, and that is to become informed about government, including about the law and courts. You know, we have long said that ignorance of the law is no excuse, and that is true. It cannot be a defense to something in court. But I believe that we have an obligation in those jurisdictions that elect judges to get in there, ask questions, understand the role of different judges. We have an obligation to watch things that come out of courts and ask questions and understand that. And we've got to return to being a real reading society. We can't always just depend on our local news outlet that may or may not be doing news. They might be doing, informational advocacy pieces. But we need to go back to reading and understanding that and talking about those issues. One of the proudest things that I have engaged in early in my judgeship was to do just little mock trials. The American Bar Association developed a series of mock trials on things that children could understand. There was the trial of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, or the trial of Pinocchio. And you get young children to actually read these roles and help understand the trial process. They really got into it. And some of the children who were too young to actually do the parts, I would put them in a jury box and we would just try the trial of the century. And they were so engaged, and their parents were just so proud of this. But we have a lot of ways that we can help to educate the public about courts and how the whole court process is fundamental to a strong democracy and to maintaining our republic.